One, two, one, two, three.
It's time. Deathly Hallows. Deathly Hallows, always. I cannot believe that it is time to finish our Harry Potter reread series and talk about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Let me say hello first. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are all having a spectacular day. I finished the Harry Potter series. I read all 7 books. I watched all 8 movies. This is our last video in our Harry Potter reread series, and I figured it is important for me to wear my Deathly Hallows shirt because we are talking about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I have a lot of thoughts. And so we're gonna get into it. But before we get started, please don't forget to subscribe. Which side? Please don't forget to subscribe because it'll really support my channel. Okay, let's talk about book 7, you guys. Book 7. So I'm just gonna go through it first and talk about like the things that were different, and if I preferred the movie or the book. Yeah, so we'll just go from the top. So the first thing that I want to say, the Death Eater table scene with like Voldemort out Malfoy Manor was spot on. I feel like movie 7 and book 7 were pretty much on par, and that's because they made it into 2 movies. So I think that they pretty much kept everything religious to the book minus a few things here and there, but overall it was pretty consistent because they had the time to take and do everything, or mostly everything that the book had, and all the action that had in the book. So yeah, that Death Eater scene was spot on. Something else that was interesting, and I know that they did behind the scenes stuff where you can see deleted scenes, but the Dursleys go under protection because they are afraid that Voldemort and the Death Eaters are going to come after the Dursleys. So in the movie, I think it just shows them leaving, but actually they filmed all these scenes where Dudley was like, take care of yourself, and Petunia was like, take care of yourself, you know, and they actually go under protection as opposed to just leaving Harry out to dry. So, I mean, it's not essential, but I forgot about the fact that, like, they didn't just leave him, they were actually going, basically, you can call it like witness protection, or, you know, in the Muggle world, witness protection. Okay, so a couple of things about the chase scene when Harry he's not 17 yet, so they all have to fly on like a broomstick or something like that. So I know that they really made an action scene out of it in the movie, but in the book, Hagrid falls out of the motorbike and Harry thinks that he died. Also, Hedwig dies pretty early. And then my question is, so according to the movie, what gave Harry away as the real Harry was Hedwig dying, but in the book they don't really specify what gave Harry away as the real Harry, unless I like read past that. But that was one thought that I had, and I kind of like what they did in the movie where like he was like, Hedwig, no, and then it was like, oh, you know, because Harry cares so much about everybody. So I thought that was a nice little moment. But Hagrid falling out of the motorbike, my gosh, I was like, no, Hagrid. I feel like in this movie there's so many times where people could almost die that it was, you know, I remembered like stress reading it in the beginning, the first time I read it. Another thing I want to talk about, the Ginny and Harry relationship is much better in the book than it is in the movie. There's a lot more stuff and a lot more, the problem is it's a lot more in Harry's head, and I know you can't narrate the movies, but I feel like if there were a couple more scenes of him like looking at the Marauders map for Ginny, or like thinking about Ginny, or dreaming about Ginny, or something like that, it would have made it a little more, I guess, strong for me. But I know it's action based, right? Like, we have to get rid of Voldemort, like I get that, and it's the everyone's focused on the trio, but I feel like the Harry-Ginny relationship is much stronger in the book than in the movie. Something else that I forgot, and I didn't really think about this, so Ron and Hermione basically drop out of Hogwarts. They don't finish their 7th year, and Molly Weasley kind of harps on Harry, and he was like, well, why do they have to go with you? Like, what are you doing? Because Harry didn't tell anybody what they were doing, and they're just like dropping out of school, which, I mean, Harry can't go back, they'll kill him, but like, it's just funny that you don't think about things like that, where like they're like dropping out of school and like letting their kids go with Harry Potter, like to just run about and try to like find danger. I just thought that was funny. Something else that was interesting throughout book 7, Harry was hidden a lot more than actually shown in the movie. So at the wedding, he took Polyjuice Potion to be somebody else. He was under the invisibility cloak a lot throughout the book, trying to stay hidden, trying to protect people, but in the movie, obviously, he's just out and about, open, which I get, and I neither one I have a preference about, but I just thought it was funny that, like, he was like, he took a lot more precautions in the book to protect people as opposed to just like going to the wedding out and about being like, look, it's Harry Potter, or the reason that everything's going crazy. I do like that they left this out. I mean, I know it caused a little bit of drama in the book with Crumb at the wedding, like talking to Hermione and making Ron jealous. I would rather the Ron and Hermione storyline than the Hermione and Crumb storyline. That's just my preference. Okay, they don't really talk about this, and I've watched the Grindelwald movies, like the Fantastic Beasts movies, but not in depth enough to like really like, I don't know, analyze them as much. But so the Deathly Hallows is related to Grindelwald, but Harry learns about the death. Well, he doesn't know that it's the Deathly Hallows sign, but he knows that that sign is related to Grindelwald early in the book, and there's a lot more information about Grindelwald and Dumbledore, like so much more information. And I know that the movie is not about Dumbledore, it's about Harry, but I feel like it gives you a context into like the history of the world and like before him, like who came before him. I don't know, like could they have added it? I don't know. But I forgot about all that meat about Dumbledore and Grindelwald and the Deathly Hallows and all of that kind of stuff. Okay, again, there's a lot more of like Lily and Sirius. So Harry finds Lily's letter to Sirius when they're at Grimmauld Place, and he has a moment of like extreme sorrow and like mourning for his mother and his uncle, or I guess his godfather. And then there's a lot more of Kreacher. So apparently in the book, Kreacher was the one that went to Voldemort, with Voldemort, to the cave to hide the Horcrux. So Kreacher was a lot more involved and knew a lot more information. Also, in Grimmauld Place, Dobby was not there when Kreacher found Mundungus. It was just Kreacher. So I get why they added Dobby back, because they took him out of all the other movies, so they needed to bring him back for what happens to him at the end. But yeah, that's something I'll talk about at the end. Another thing that happened that did not happen in the movie is that Lupin comes to Grimmauld Place to basically be like, Harry, I want to come with you because Tonks is having a baby and I'm never going to be a good father and he's going to be like me. And Harry kind of like yells at him. He's like, how dare you abandon your family? And they have a huge fight and Lupin leaves. And I don't think that they ever get to like reconcile before Lupin and Tonks pass away. So again, I know their book is so meaty, but like there's like those little moments where I'm like, it would have just made all of it just so much, like all the deaths, spoiler alert, more significant. I don't know, in my opinion. Yeah, so I thought that the ministry scene where they take Polyjuice Potion and they go and find the Horcrux from Dolores Umbridge, I thought that that was all spot on, except for the fact that when Ron gets splinched, they apparate right after, and in the movie, they have to like walk because he can't apparate for fear of being splinched again, which I get. It makes it seem more grim and like they don't know where they are and they have to go on foot and it's more like searching and searching and searching, but I just thought that that was really interesting. Also, there was much more fighting in the movie. I'm sorry. Also, there was much more fighting in the book. There was a lot of like them trying to get away from people. I mean, yes, there are big action scenes, and I think that's why they added that big running scene at the end of movie 1. But in the book, there's a lot more, I guess, danger, elements of danger in the book, in my opinion. Also, and I know I get why they left this out, but they are in the woods again before Ron leaves, and they overhear the goblins talking about the sword of Gryffindor. And it gives you a little more context about the sword and that it was stolen or that it was a fake one was placed there. It gives you a little more context into that. And it sort of like kind of gives away Snape a little bit, that Snape's trying to help them just a tad, just a little bit. Also, when it's Harry and Hermione, they go to Godric's Hollow under Polyjuice Potion. But in the movie, he says that he doesn't want to go in Polyjuice Potion. He wants to go back as himself to see his parents at the graveyard, which I like that better. I like that better. Again, like I said about Harry, throughout the course of the book, he keeps checking on the Marauders map to look at Ginny and make sure that she's okay at Hogwarts. Just that one little clip, I think, would have just made their relationship stronger and more believable in the movies, in my opinion, because there's a lot of it in the book. There's a lot more of it in the book. The killing of the Horcrux scene with Ron and Harry, spot on. I think that that was done to a T. Well done, book to movie. I thought it was perfect. Okay. I like rewatched the movies closely because I don't think that they said this out loud, but apparently saying Voldemort's name is how they find you. So when they apparated out of the wedding and they said Voldemort, that's how the Snatchers or the 2 Death Eaters found them in that coffee shop. And like that's how, in the book, that's how the Snatchers find them in the forest. And I thought that that was cool, and I wish that they added that element because it made it more dangerous, Voldemort more dangerous, that Voldemort could get to them anywhere, as opposed to if they're in the middle of the forest, like how could anybody find them? So I thought that they should have added that into the movie. The tale of the three brothers, spot on. Also, they like kind of hint at it, but they don't blatantly mention it. So Harry is a descendant of one of the three brothers. That's how he got the invisibility cloak, which I think they could have mentioned or like pushed more of, because the cloak was a really big deal. Like, to us, oh, invisibility cloak, but actually like those don't really exist. Like, it's very rare to have one where you actually cannot be seen. So I thought that that could have been mentioned a little bit more in the movie, and they did a lot more in the book. Something else I don't think that they mentioned in the movie, Lupin makes Harry his son's godfather, which is like so full circle, and like would have just put a knife in my heart to watch them, or watch like Lupin tell Harry, or have Harry overhear Lupin say that. Oh my god. And that just makes their even more heartbreaking, and it kind of takes it out all full circle that Harry becomes the godfather who lost their parents to this boy. I just, oh my god, I was reading that and I was like, oh, I forgot. That's the kind of like character context I love about these books. Oh my gosh. Oh, I totally forgot about that moment and I love it. Something else, I mean, they got rid of the storyline completely, but, you know, Percy was hated the entire series, and he was not happy with his family, but he comes to Hogwarts to help fight, and there's like a whole reconciliation with that, but they just kind of like threw that storyline out, which I totally get. Oh, so something that they added into the movie, which I actually really liked, is that whole confrontation scene with Snape. That is not in the book. Harry is much more sneaky in Hogwarts, and he runs into the Carrows and doesn't really confront Snape. It's actually McGonagall who confronts Snape, but I loved that scene. I thought it was so well done in the movie, and I also love Alan Rickman. So I thought that's something that they added that I really, really liked, because it was a nice confrontation, and it shows Snape, it kind of shows that Snape was on their side because he didn't say anything and he didn't fight back. So Fred's death was a much bigger moment in the book. In the movie, we only really see him laying on the ground and they're crying after Voldemort says for his followers to retreat. But in the book, there's a much bigger moment, and they try to take his body and protect him, and it's just so much more heartbreaking in the book than it is in the movie. Something else I thought was really interesting, in the movie, they changed the Horcruxes that Harry and Voldemort could feel them being destroyed, or sense them, or know when they're around them. But in the movie, Harry never felt the Horcrux. He could not feel its presence, or when it died, or anything like that. Which I like that they did that in the movie. It showed that that magic was much more powerful, in my opinion. Oh, so instead of Voldemort being in the boathouse to kill Snape, he was in the Shrieking Shack. Not a huge deal. I actually prefer the boathouse. I think it's creepier. Oh, so Snape's death. I thought it was spot on, except for the fact that in the movie he says, look at me, you have your mother's eyes. And in the book he doesn't say that. But reading when Snape says always, he's my favorite character. I love him so much. I love that redemption. I love that storyline. I love the flashback in the movie. Every time I watch it, it's heartbreaking, and I love it, again, because I love Alan Rickman. But I thought that all of that book to movie translation was perfect. Excellent, excellent, excellent. And I like reading it again, it's just as moving as when you read it the first time and you were like, oh my gosh, Snape. Also, I love that they added in the movie when his mother, father, Lupin, and Sirius are around Harry before he goes to Voldemort, that Lily says always. She doesn't say that in the book, but I actually thought that that was a perfect circle that they did in the movies. I thought it was excellent. I love that kind of stuff. Okay, so so there's a lot more context between Dumbledore and Grindelwald, and that they were obsessed with power, and they wanted the Elder Wand, the Stone, and the invisibility cloak. There's a lot more context in that. I get that it's not their story, it's Harry's story. So I'm okay with reading that and not really having that in the movie. Another thing this is a quote, the true master of death does not stick to run away from death. So the reason that Voldemort could never be the master of death is because he's trying to avoid death, and so Harry had all of those items because he was ready to die. He accepted death, and that's why he was able to be the master of that Elder Wand. Something else that was really interesting in the book, Voldemort made the Resurrection Stone a Horcrux, which he didn't mean to do. Also, when they do their big battle, the killing spell regurgitates on Voldemort and he ends up killing himself because Harry always says Expelliarmus. Harry never uses the Avada Kedavra curse. So I thought that that was like very poetic. In the movie, he like kind of disappears. I would have preferred him to just like die as a human. But I guess at that point, like, he's not even a soul. He's this like shell of a thing. So I get why they did that sort of like visual, like him like floating away in the air. But I would have liked to see like the mortal Voldemort and then have him die and like see his body. That's just my opinion. Also, the way that the like big battle went down in the book, it's in front of everybody, and Harry explains everything to Voldemort, that Snape was a double agent, he was working for Dumbledore, and that it would never work for him, the wand would never work for him, and he's had like people lying to him the entire time, and that he fears death. I don't know how I feel. I mean, it's so epic in the movie the way that they do it, but it kind of would have been really cool to see everybody around Harry and Voldemort and them do this huge epic duel in front of everybody. I don't know. I would love to see what that would have looked like. Okay, the last three things that I want to say that I wish they did in the movie. So in the book, when everything's done and Harry explains to Harry and Ron, at the end when everything is done and Voldemort is dead, Harry explains to Ron and Hermione that the Elder One actually belonged to him because he disarmed Draco. And Harry doesn't want the wand, but he mends his own wand and he leaves the stone in the forest and then he puts the Elder Wand back with Dumbledore. I think that that is so poetic, and I wish that he would have done that as opposed to breaking the wand. I get the metaphor of breaking the wand because nobody wants all that power, but I don't know. In the movie, they kind of glanced over the death of Dumbledore because they got rid of the funeral, and like there really wasn't any mourning for Dumbledore from Harry. So I think that that would have been really nice to finish off. I also I forgot about this, I love that Professor Longbottom teaches herbology at the end in the epilogue. I love that. And I love the last line. I know a lot of people, it's controversial, that epilogue, but I love it. It really puts a punctuation on the ending, and I don't like thinking about what if. I like to know that they're like who got married, what kids are going, and then, you know, the last line, all was well and his scar hadn't hurt for 19 years. I thought that that was perfect. I love close endings like that. The other thing that I'll say that I thought that the movies did really well was the suspense music, the orchestrations, and the cinematography of the movies, and the CGI, man. It's wild. So, you know, you can't ask for them to do everything in the book. It's just not possible. Anything that goes from book to screen, it's just not possible. You have to pick and choose creatively what you want to see. Yeah, so I started this series and I wanted to be like, do I like the books or do I like the movies? I'm gonna have to say both. I forgot about so much that these books had in them, so much more character development, so much more development on characters that they got rid of. And I would totally reread them again. It just brings you into this world, this other universe, and I just don't know how she created it all. I think it's just amazing. I love all of the actors in the movie. I thought it was perfectly cast. I love rewatching them. I just love both. I know it's annoying to say, but I'm gonna say both. I'm gonna say both. But the fun thing about the books is that now that you remember everything that's in the books, if you subscribe to things like Loot Crate or the Wizarding Trunk or any of those things where they send you stuff based on the book, you're like, oh my god, oh, that's so good. So I'm glad that I reread these because I love those subscriptions. And I love seeing like what they think of, like what they come up with in a Harry Potter related theme that's not just based on the mainstream movies. So I'm very happy. I haven't read Cursed Child, so I might just like keep my Harry Potter theme going and read like all the like Fantastic Beasts and all that kind of stuff and see, you know, if I can just keep reading them all. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please leave a comment below. Tell me what you think. I am going to do a separate video I'm going to rank the books from 1 to 7, like 1 being my favorite and 7 being my least favorite. I'm going to do a separate video on that, and I'm also going to, in that video, do a ranking of the movies 1 to 7, or I guess 1 to 8. So we're not done with Harry Potter stuff, don't you fret. But yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Again, before you head out, please don't forget to subscribe because it'll really support my channel. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, our series has come to an end. I will see you guys in the next video.